All right, Toby. So I am Latasha with Awards Buzz, and I want to get into all the things ocean. What ultimately sparked the vision for this project and this documentary?
Sure. So essentially, everyone who was part of this film, from the people who made it happen, from the people who supported it financially, the scientists, and us directors, and myself as the producer as well. Everything, and David, everything was about creating a moment in time, creating a piece of history, the chance for momentum, the chance for an opportunity to make change. This film is out in the year of the ocean, halfway through the UN's decade of the ocean. And the idea was to, yeah, create a seminal feature film about the ocean with the greatest frontman in the world. The most trusted voice in our industry, and the most trusted storyteller we have to deliver that message.
So, speaking of the message, why did you and the team decide to embark upon the path of a documentary versus a series for this story?
Well, I think the feeling was to create a cinematic event. So it wasn't just another TV episode. David's made some incredible TV series in the past. Over the last 16 years, I've been part of quite a few of those series. Planet Earth 2, Our Planet, wonderful landmark series. What we wanted to create here was something quite different. It's an authored, personal, one-off feature film cinematic event piece to offer an opportunity to change the world.
How long has this project been in the works for you and the team?
It's been 3 years now. So it took us about 3 years to make it, and we spent 500 hours underwater, 300 days on the sea. We were filming in the seas off all seven continents and a little bit from space. And yeah, it's been an incredible effort, a huge global effort to bring this production together.
And does that 3-year time frame include the research that I can only imagine that was involved with this?
Huge amount of research, and yes, that's within that 3 years. I mean, people have been thinking about making this film for quite a while, but actually, 3 years sounds like a long time, and it is quite a long time. But for a feature film, for a product of this scale and this magnitude, it's actually quite a quick turnaround, and it involves a lot of people coming together. The great thing about this film is anyone who heard about it, anyone who came across it, who heard about the mission and the story, really wanted to be part of it, really wanted to contribute, really wanted to make it into something big. So we were really lucky. We had this just incredible global network coming together to just make this film happen within the time.
And I think, Toby, like with the locations and the hours spent underwater, like in situations like this, when you're filming and going through that entire process, like what happens when weather, like takes effect and the weather is predicted to look a certain way, but once you're kind of out there and into it, like things have shifted, like how do the team pivot in a situation like that?
Well, it's really challenging. You need to be super adaptable all the time. So, for instance, filming way out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean for the open ocean sequence, weeks can go by and you don't even turn on the camera, right? You're working with really difficult conditions. Sometimes there's really strong swell, storms, wind, rain, and you're working in this huge empty habitat. I mean, the biggest habitat on Earth. And sometimes you just don't see anything for ages. But then suddenly you have to be ready because it can all just happen at once and everything can just quickly come together. And even after not turning on a camera for 3 weeks at a time, you might see this distant hub of activity, this sort of tornado of shearwaters, these seabirds. And if you get there in time and you get in the water, you're suddenly plunged into this big white frothing wall of mayhem, these huge tuna the size of small cars. These things are like dinosaurs just rocketing up from this deep sea seamount into this big ball of mackerel, giant blue sharks bumping into the back of your heads, very curious and friendly. And and big sei whales, huge whales cruising past my face within touching distance. Um, Big minke whales underwater, and that can all be within the space of 4 or 5 minutes. And then you've got your blockbuster piece. So everything can come together very quickly. And in that time, you've got to be ready. Do you launch the drone to capture it from the air? Do you get straight in the water? Do you launch the inflatable boat to get that closer? Is the bait ball moving? Is it static? Is it sinking? So you've got to really react really quickly.
Let me ask you an interesting question, Toby, and this literally just came to mind. Like, we know how animals are on Earth, right? Above ground. And dogs, for an example, can sense, fear, right? Is it when you're underwater like that and you're in contact with whales and sharks, like, are they able to sense and feel your energy? And does that kind of like sway them to move around you a certain type of way? That may be a ridiculous question, but I think the world will want to know the answer to that.
Huh, it's not a ridiculous question. It's a great question. I mean, the true answer is I don't know, of course, because we're just finding stuff out right now about the ocean, about the underwater world that's just blowing our minds, right? We're really living in the great age of ocean discovery. So every year we're finding out these things that completely changing our understanding of how vital the ocean is for life on Earth. And that includes the role of these ocean animals. And all of them are completely different, right? I mean, we often think of all edible marine life as seafood, right? But
Exactly.
on land, you wouldn't kind of lump um, a bird and a deer together and just call it land food. You just wouldn't do that. So I think our perception of the sea is just that all animals are the same and they're completely different. You know, a shark being a fish and a whale being this incredibly sentient animal, this very, very intelligent creature. I mean, I could certainly tell as the sei whale came up past me and just really looked me in the eye. I don't know what it was thinking, but it was thinking. You could tell that much. There was real thought there. And that moment when it just drifted past and we just locked eyes, that was an incredibly powerful moment. I'll remember that forever.
And before we wrap, I want to talk about the selection of the water sequences. Like, how is that determined between amongst like the producers and the directors and just the team in general?
In terms of which stories we chose to put in the film,
Yeah.
well, ultimately, that's my responsibility as the producer director. But um, I think the gift with this film is that it was a really clear story, right? And
Yeah.
that is what drives the choice of all of the content of the film, where we film, how we film. So the clear story was we're living in this age of ocean discovery. We want to show you wonder. We want to show you how we're just seeing this wonder really now. We're just starting to see how wonderful the ocean world is. And then we're only just starting to see the demolition of our seabed, the destruction of our ocean floor for the first time. But ultimately, the big take home is one of hope, right? This is the most exciting thing, is like this is real, real hope. If we protect a third of the sea, the rest of it will fill with life again. And that will be amazing. That will create a planet that's more full of life for conservationists, for fisheries, full of ocean life. It will create a stable climate, breathable atmosphere. So it's a triple win for every single person and living thing on Earth. So everything that fitted that story came on screen, and also it had to produce a cinematic event as well. So that fed into the selection process.
And I think and this is not necessarily a question, right? But as we come to a close, ultimately, you would say that that is the big vision and was the goal of putting this film, this project documentary out there for the world to see.
Correct. That is the big take home, right? I mean, people might feel angry and devastated and upset by some of the scenes, but ultimately, the big picture here, and we hope that was my intention, was the main take home is one of hope. This is real hope, and there's no better motivator right now than hope. We've had a lot of doom and gloom the last few years, so we don't want to alienate the world, we don't want to alienate the audience, we want to engage people, and this is real hope. So let's listen.
I love it. Thank you so much, Toby. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for the time.
Thank you for your time. You take care.
Thanks, you
All
too.
right.